I was running from everything when I pulled off the highway into that dusty Montana town, population 800 and declining. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I'd been driving for 3 days straight, fueled by gas station coffee and the kind of panic that sits in your chest like a stone. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I couldn't go back to Chicago, couldn't face my family, couldn't stand in that church one more Sunday and pretend to be someone I wasn't. So I drove until the city disappeared behind me, until the buildings gave way to endless sky and rolling hills that looked like they'd been there since the beginning of time. The truck stop where I ended up was the kind of place that probably looked exactly the same in 1970 as it did now. Faded red paint on the diner, a couple of gas pumps that took forever to fill your tank, and a bulletin board by the door covered in flyers for lost cats and ranch work. I was staring at that board, not really seeing it, just trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do next, when someone cleared their throat behind me. I turned around, and there he was. Tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair that needed a cut and eyes the color of honey in sunlight. He was wearing work jeans and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and there was dirt under his fingernails like he'd been doing something real with his hands. He looked at me with this expression I couldn't quite read, something between curiosity and concern. "You looking for work?" he asked. His voice was deep and quiet, the kind that makes you lean in to hear better. I must have looked as lost as I felt, because he smiled a little, just one corner of his mouth lifting. My uncle runs a cattle ranch about 20 miles north. We're short-handed for the season. Room and board included if you're interested. I should have asked questions. I should have wanted to know about pay, about responsibilities, about literally anything. But all I could think was that 20 miles north sounded far enough away from everything I was running from, and this stranger with kind eyes was offering me a place to hide. "I don't know anything about ranching," I said. "Can you learn?" I nodded. "Then get in the truck." I'm Dashel, by the way. Most people call me Dash. I'm Connor. That's how it started. I followed Dash's dusty pickup down a long gravel road that cut through land so wide open it made my chest ache. I'd lived my whole life in the city, surrounded by concrete and noise and people everywhere you looked. Out here, there was just space, miles and miles of it. The sky was huge and blue and empty, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The ranch house was old but well maintained, a 2-story structure with a wraparound porch and windows that caught the afternoon light. There were several outbuildings, a massive red barn, and more cattle than I could count dotting the hills in the distance. Dash's uncle, a weathered man named Frank with a firm handshake and eyes that saw too much, looked me over once and nodded. "Dash says you're looking for work. You ever been on a ranch before?" "No, sir." "You running from the law?" "No, sir." Frank studied me for a long moment, and I had the uncomfortable feeling he could see right through me, could see all the secrets I was carrying and the fear that had driven me here. But all he said was, "Room's in the bunkhouse. Dash will show you the ropes. We start at 5 in the morning." The bunkhouse was simple. 4 beds, though only 2 were occupied now, a small bathroom, and not much else. Dash helped me carry my single duffel bag inside and showed me which bed was mine. "Get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." But he didn't leave right away. He stood there in the doorway, backlit by the setting sun, and I realized I was staring at the line of his shoulders, the way his shirt fit across his chest. I looked away quickly, that familiar shame rising up in my throat. "Connor," he said, and something in his voice made me look back. "Whatever you're running from, you're safe here, okay?" I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just nodded. He smiled that small smile again and left, and I sat on the edge of the bed in this strange place, surrounded by silence, and wondered what the hell I'd gotten myself into. I learned quickly that ranching was hard work. Not just physically demanding, though it was definitely that, but the kind of work that required attention and care and a willingness to get up before dawn every single day. Dash was patient with me, showing me how to mend fences, how to check the cattle for injuries or illness, how to operate the equipment without losing a finger. He never made me feel stupid for not knowing things, never got frustrated when I had to ask the same question twice. We worked side by side most days, and I started to learn things about him. He'd grown up on this ranch, left for college in Bozeman, got a degree in agricultural science, and came back because this land was in his blood. He loved the work, loved the animals, loved the way the seasons changed the landscape. He talked about the ranch the way some people talk about art or music, with this quiet passion that made you understand why he'd chosen this life. And I started to notice other things too. The way he pushed his hair back when he was thinking. The way he laughed. Really laughed. With his whole body. The way he looked at the sunset like it was the first time he'd ever seen one. The way his hands moved when he worked. Confident and capable. The way my heart would speed up when I heard his truck coming up the road. I tried not to think about what it meant, I'd spent years trying not to think about what it meant when I noticed a man's hands or his smile, or the way he moved. I'd prayed about it, bargained with God about it, hated myself for it. That's why I'd run. My parents had found messages on my phone, messages to another guy from my church group, and the look on my mother's face when she confronted me was something I'd never forget. The disappointment, the disgust, the way she'd said we could fix this, we could pray this away, we could get me help. I'd left that night, just packed a bag and left, because I couldn't be their project anymore. Couldn't let them try to fix something that wasn't broken, even if I wasn't quite ready to believe that myself. But out here on the ranch, with the sky stretching forever and the work filling my days and Dash's steady presence beside me, something started to shift. I started to sleep through the night, started to eat without my stomach churning, started to look at the sunrise and feel something other than despair. And I started to look at Dash and feel something I'd never let myself feel before. Something that wasn't wrapped in shame or fear. Just this quiet, growing warmth that spread through my chest every time he was near. It was about 3 weeks in when he asked me. We were sitting on the porch after dinner, both of us too tired to move, watching the stars come out. There were so many stars out here, more than I'd ever imagined existed, scattered across the sky like someone had thrown diamonds against black velvet. "You ever going to tell me what you're running from?" Dash asked quietly. I felt my whole body tense. "What makes you think I'm running from something?" "Connor." He said my name like it was something precious. I've seen that look before. I've worn that look before. You showed up here with one bag, and no plan, and fear in your eyes, so yeah, I think you're running from something. I was quiet for a long time, listening to the night sounds, the distant lowing of cattle and the wind in the grass. Part of me wanted to lie, to make up some story about a bad breakup or a lost job. But I was tired of lying. So tired. "My family found out I'm gay," I said, and my voice only shook a little. "They wanted to fix me, send me to conversion therapy, pray the gay away, all of that. So I left." I couldn't look at him. I stared at the stars and waited for the judgment, the awkward silence, the slow withdrawal. That's what always happened. That's what I'd been taught to expect. But Dash just said, "That must have been really hard." I looked at him then, and he was watching me with those honey-colored eyes, and there was no disgust there, no disappointment, just understanding. I'm sorry they made you feel like you had to run, he continued. I'm sorry they couldn't see that there's nothing wrong with you. Something cracked open in my chest. How can you be so sure there's nothing wrong with me? Because I'm gay too, Connor. And it took me a long time to figure out that there's nothing wrong with that. The world tilted. I stared at him. This man who'd been kind to me from the moment we met, who'd offered me safety without asking questions, who made my heart race every time he smiled. Yeah. He smiled, and it was different from his usual small smile. This one was open, genuine, a little bit vulnerable. Uncle Frank knows. He's known since I was 16. He's good people. So if you're worried about staying here, about being yourself here, don't be. You're safe. I meant that when I said it the first day. I didn't realize I was crying until Dash reached over and brushed a tear from my cheek with his thumb. His hand was rough from work, but gentle, and I leaned into the touch without thinking. I've been so scared for so long, I whispered. I know. But you don't have to be scared here. We sat there on the porch, and he kept his hand on my face, and I felt something settle in my chest that I'd never felt before. Peace. Actual, real peace. After that night, things changed between us. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in small ways that added up to something bigger. Dash started finding reasons to touch me, a hand on my shoulder when he was teaching me something new, sitting close enough that our legs touched when we took breaks, brushing against me when we worked side by side. Every touch felt electric, like my whole body was waking up after years of being numb. And I started to let myself look at him. Really look at him. Started to let myself notice the way his shirt clung to his back when he lifted hay bales, the way sweat made his hair curl at his temples, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed at something I said. Started to let myself want him, and instead of drowning in shame, I just felt alive. We were in the barn one afternoon, both of us mucking out stalls, when Dash stopped working and leaned on his shovel. There's a bonfire at the Morrison place this Saturday, he said. Some of the neighbouring ranch hands get together once a month. Would you want to come with me? Like as friends, I asked, and immediately felt stupid for asking. Dash grinned. I was thinking more like a date, but we can start with friends if that's easier. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. A date sounds good. Yeah? Yeah. He crossed the space between us in 3 long steps. And suddenly he was right there, close enough that I could see the gold flecks in his eyes and smell the scent of hay and sunshine that clung to him. He reached up slowly, giving me time to pull away, and cupped my face in both his hands. I've wanted to kiss you since the day you showed up at that truck stop, he said softly. Can I? I couldn't speak, so I just nodded. And then his lips were on mine and the whole world disappeared. The kiss was gentle at first, questioning. But when I pressed closer and opened my mouth under his, it deepened into something that made my knees weak. His hands slid into my hair and I gripped his shirt and we kissed like we were both starving, like we'd been waiting our whole lives for this moment. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dash rested his forehead against mine. I should have asked sooner, he said. I'm glad you asked now. We stood there in the barn, holding each other, and I felt something I'd never expected to feel. Happy, safe, wanted. All the things I'd been taught I couldn't have, couldn't be, couldn't feel. The bonfire was exactly what I needed. Just a group of people sitting around a fire, drinking beer, telling stories, laughing under the stars. Dash introduced me as his boyfriend, said it casual and easy like it was the most natural thing in the world. And nobody batted an eye. A couple of people asked where I was from, how I was adjusting to ranch life. But mostly they just accepted me, included me, made me feel like I belonged. Dash kept his hand on my knee the whole night. This casual, possessive touch that made me feel claimed in the best way. And when someone started playing guitar and people paired off to dance in the firelight, he pulled me up and into his arms. "I don't know how to dance," I said. "Just follow me." So I did. I followed his lead, stumbling a little at first but finding the rhythm, and we swayed together under the Montana sky, while someone sang an old country song about going home. Dash pulled me close, one hand on my waist and the other clasped in mine, and I buried my face in his neck and thought this is what home feels like. "You okay?" he murmured against my ear. "Better than okay." "Good." We stayed like that, dancing slowly even after the song ended, and I realized something that should have terrified me, but didn't. I was falling in love with him. Maybe had been falling since that first day. And instead of fighting it, instead of running from it, I was just letting it happen. The summer stretched on, and I learned the rhythms of ranch life. Early mornings and long days and falling into bed exhausted. The satisfaction of hard work and visible progress. The way the land changed with the weather, green and gold and endless. And I learned the rhythms of being with Dash. Morning coffee on the porch, working side by side. Stolen kisses in the barn. Long conversations about everything and nothing. The way he looked at me like I was something precious. The way he touched me like he couldn't quite believe I was real. We were careful around the other ranch hands. Not because anyone seemed to care, but because Dash said it was better to keep some things private. But when we were alone, he was affectionate in ways that made my heart ache. Always touching me. Always finding excuses to be close. And at night, when everyone else was asleep, he'd slip into the bunkhouse and into my bed, and we'd hold each other in the darkness and whisper about the future. "Stay," he said one night, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. "When the season ends, stay. Work here permanently. Be with me." "I don't have anywhere else to go," I said. "That's not why I'm asking. I'm asking because I love you. Because I want you here. Because this feels right." I turned in his arms so I could see his face in the moonlight coming through the window. "You love me?" "Yeah, Connor. I love you." I think I started falling that first day, when you looked so lost and scared, and still said yes to coming here. And I've been falling ever since. I kissed him then, deep and slow, trying to pour everything I felt into it. When I pulled back, I said, "I love you too. And yes, I'll stay. I want to stay." He smiled, that beautiful, open smile that I'd learned was just for me, and pulled me closer. We fell asleep like that, tangled together, and I dreamed of a future I'd never let myself imagine before. It wasn't all perfect. I still had hard days when the shame tried to creep back in, when I heard my mother's voice in my head telling me I was wrong and broken. Days when I wondered if I should call home, try to explain, try to make them understand. Dash was patient with me on those days, holding me when I needed it and giving me space when I needed that instead. "It gets easier," he told me once, "learning to accept yourself, learning to believe you deserve good things. It takes time, but it gets easier, and you don't have to do it alone." And he was right. It did get easier. Slowly, gradually, I started to believe that there was nothing wrong with me, that loving Dash wasn't a sin or a sickness, but just love, as real and valid as any other kind, that I deserved to be happy, that I deserved to be loved. Uncle Frank pulled me aside one day in late August, when the summer was starting to fade into fall, and the air had that first hint of crispness. "You planning to stick around?" he asked. "If you'll have me, sir." He nodded slowly. "Dash is happy. Happier than I've seen him in years. You're good for him. Good for the ranch, too. You've learned fast, work hard, don't complain. So yeah, I'll have you. Permanently, if that's what you want." "It is." "Good." He clapped me on the shoulder. "One more thing. I know things are complicated with your family, but if you ever want to talk, or if you need someone to stand with you, you've got family here too. Remember that." I had to look away because my eyes were burning. "Thank you." "No. Thanks needed. You're one of ours now." That evening, I called my parents for the first time since I'd left. My hands were shaking as I dialed, and Dash sat next to me on the porch, holding my free hand, giving me strength. My mom answered on the third ring. "Connor." "Hi, Mom." There was a long silence. Then, "Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm safe. I'm in Montana. I'm working on a ranch." "Montana? Connor, what are you doing in Montana?" I took a deep breath. Dash squeezed my hand. "I'm living my life, Mom. I'm being who I am. And I'm happy. Connor, we can help you. We can—" "I don't need help. I'm not broken. I'm gay. And that's okay. And I've met someone who makes me really happy. His name is Dash. And I love him." Another long silence. I could hear my dad's voice in the background, asking what was happening. "I don't expect you to understand right away," I continued. "But I needed you to know that I'm okay. Better than okay. And if you ever want to be part of my life, you need to accept all of me, not just the parts you're comfortable with." "Connor," my mum's voice broke. "I have to go, but I love you. Both of you. And I hope someday you can love all of me too." I hung up before she could respond, before I could lose my nerve. I was shaking all over, and Dash pulled me into his arms and held me while I cried. Not sad tears exactly. Just release. Letting go of the hope that they'd change, the fear that I needed their approval to be okay. "You did good," Dash murmured into my hair. "I'm proud of you. I don't know if they'll ever come around. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But you've got a family here. You've got me. And that's enough." He was right. It was enough. The seasons changed. Summer faded into fall, and the ranch took on a different kind of beauty. The grass turned gold, the air got crisp, and the cattle started coming down from the high pastures. Dash and I fell into a routine that felt like it had always existed. Work during the day. Dinner with Uncle Frank and the other hands. Evenings on the porch watching the sunset. And nights in each other's arms. Learning each other's bodies. Learning what it meant to love someone fully, and be fully loved in return. I wasn't running anymore. I'd found what I didn't know I was looking for. A home. A purpose. A love that felt like coming home to myself. And every morning when I woke up next to Dash, when I looked out at the endless Montana sky, I felt grateful for the fear that had driven me here, because it had led me to exactly where I was meant to be. "What are you thinking about?" Dash asked one evening. We were in bed, the window open to let in the cool autumn air, our legs tangled together. Just how different my life is now. How I almost can't remember what it felt like before. Better or worse? I turned to look at him, at this man who'd offered me safety when I needed it most, who'd shown me what it meant to be loved without conditions, who'd helped me find myself so much better than I ever imagined it could be. He smiled and kissed me softly. Good, because I plan on keeping you around for a very long time. Promise. Promise. And lying there in his arms, in this place that had become home, I believed him. I believed in us. I believed in the future we were building together, one day at a time. I'd come here running from everything, and I'd found everything I'd ever needed. Love, acceptance, peace, home. The rancher's nephew had asked what I was running from, and he'd offered to hide me. But what he'd really done was help me find myself. Help me stop running. Help me understand that I didn't need to hide anymore. That I could stand in the sunlight and be exactly who I was and be loved for it. And that was worth everything.